Okay, so this is the second tutorial for the clock project, and this is where you're going to create your final design sheet. Now this is the one with the shapes on it, your final designs that can then be exported to the laser cutter to cut out. Okay, now if you see the design sheet from where we left in tutorial 1, you can see that I've taken the extra lines out of the inside of my butterfly here. Okay, I've moved it up on line with these, so I've tidied up the sheet a little bit there, and I've copied and pasted it so it's down there as my final design. So really these are the stages I've gone through. I'll just shuffle them along, so just so that the page looks a little bit tidier there. Okay, so they're the three ideas that we imported originally. I chose my best one, my favourite one. I went through the stages, highlighted that we copied and pasted it, vectorized it, fill and no fill, delete the extra lines and add the engraved lines, which was changing those to red, remember, using the line color tab up there. And that's the final one that I'm left with. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create that final design sheet. And what I need you to do is click on the new tab up here. Now what you'll see is that will open a page alongside this one, which will be our final design. It's useful to keep looking at this one. Okay, now again with this page we're going to set it up the same as we did the CAD sheet. So while this is sort of highlighted here, okay, this is the one we're working on, we go to setup, drawing and layout again, and we set this one up to A4. Okay, and just like we did before, we check that that delete key is set on that one with the little sort of broken line in the middle. Okay, we're going to title this one same as we've done before, and we're going to call this final design. Okay, settings, I'm choosing the same font as I had last time. I think we set that title as 15mm, and I set the inside colour as that darker blue one there. So they both look the same and they both are going to match up there. Alright, so we bring that one in as final design. Now I'm going to assume that I'm going to have this butterfly as my centerpiece and the outside of my clock in a circle shape. Okay, but I'll show you how to generate different shapes here. So first of all, I need to click on this side, and you can see how the colour changes. The one that you're working on will go slightly darker there. We're going to highlight that design. We're going to go to edit and copy. You can't right click it doing this way. Click back onto this side, edit and paste. Okay, and there it is. That's the size that we want. Now remember, each one of these dots is a centimetre apart. Okay, so that's how big it's going to be. So you can kind of work that out, how big that's going to be in real life. That's not its size in real life. You can see that it would be 1, 2, 3, 4.5 centimetres high and wide. Now I'm going to draw a circle here now. Okay, I can click on the circle tool. Okay, and it will allow me to draw a circle of any size. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the button down on the circle tool, and what we're going to do is set one up with a given radius. Now radius, as you can see from that diagram there, is from the center to the edge of your circle. Now the biggest radius that we can have for our clock project, okay, we're going to set this up at 70mm, which gives us a diameter, a total width of that circle, not 700, my god, that'll be too big, of 14 centimetres. So if I OK that, and you can see every time I click I'll get a circle. So I click once, back to my arrow key, and that's it. And that will be the size of circle I wanted. Now on this one now, you can put your butterfly in there, And you can see, well, maybe I want that a little bit bigger. You don't want it to totally cover up all the colours that you've put on here, but maybe you could stretch that out. Again, you highlight it all. Don't forget to press that up arrow on the keyboard. Stretch it out. You're looking how it's going to look there. Yep, that would look fine. And you move it to one side, because obviously these are going to be two separate things. When you've stuck all your pieces down onto your clock blank that is square, we'll put that into the laser cutter and that will cut your circle. This will be cut out separately from black acrylic and mounted on there later. And obviously with these bits engraved here, you can sort of put the acrylic paint in there to make those stand out if you wanted. So that's how you do a circle one. Now, if you wanted to do a square one, okay, we can highlight that circle, delete it. Square one, we can go on to shapes here. You can hold that down to get the correct size shape, but to be honest, I'm going to show you a different way of doing this one, so it teaches you another skill. If you go over to grid lock here on the right hand side toolbar, click on that. What this will do is it will snap to, it'll go dot to dot, so it's far easy to count. And if you look, I'm going to move it down here at this REL number, that will tell you how big it is. From your starting point, you've gone, it sort of counts the amount of squares that you've gone. So we said 14 by 14 was the biggest we could go. Okay, and you can see that that says 140 millimeters by 140 millimeters. We know that's a square, we know that's as big as we can go. I can click on it there and that will give that square. Okay, it's a bit sharp on the edges. If you want those rounded off, there is a trick here that you can do. Hold the button down on that one there, which is about drawing arcs. Go to the very end one. Okay. We'll set our radius at 10. You can increase that if you want to. Click on the two lines and it will round off at those corners. That's a really useful little thing to have. It'll soften that shape up a little. So you can have a square that's in that shape. Okay, that's fine. Let's go back to my delete key. I'll need to delete this. So that will be a square shape. Let's say we wanted an oval. We've got that radius on there again. Start with our circle. But this time what I'm going to do is, let's say I'm going to shrink that side in a little. Okay. You can see I've still got my grid lock here, so it will snap to the next dot. If you take your grid lock off, you can move it between them smoothly. And that's just really up to you, okay? Remember, the maximum size that we say to go with is about 14 centimeters there. So you can do pretty much any shape within that, all right? Show you another trick. If you want to go to alternative shapes, all right, you can see here that you can get hexagons or heptagons. You can go for any number of size. Let's say on this one, I'm going to go for an 8-sided shape, an octagon. Okay, it. I draw one side of it. Oh, sorry, that'll go onto there like that. There's different. If you look on these, there's different tools where it'll say you can draw one side of that and it will generate all the other sides to match that one. Or as we've got there, we're still on the radius one. Okay. And it's given us a radius of 50. So if we probably need to change that one to 70 to fit in with our other one. Okay, if I click on it here, you'll get one, you know, that's 140 millimeters across. Let me get rid of that other one down here using my delete key. Okay, so that's an octagon. All right, so you could have one that shape. I'm going to click on that and press the delete button on my keyboard. Like I said, you can go to any number of shapes there. Let's stay with that radius one because that's quite handy. Let's go to a 5-sided shape. Okay. There we are. Okay, so you can choose by using these drawing tools and getting used to them a little bit. You really need to stay on the circle one and the shape one there, and that'll give you a variety that you can work with. But remember, you need to stay in that 14 by 14 size for it to be able to fit onto your clock. Now that now becomes our final design sheet, and you'll see on the example in your folder that you can annotate on that now, which means you can add notes. So I'd like you to explain that this is going to be the outside of your clock, that this is going to be the inside of your clock, if indeed you're having that. Okay, if you're having that. If you were having that as your outside shape, I'll show you that in a moment, but also that these are going to be engraved lines. Okay, so you can do it like that. Right, let's get rid of that shape just while I think of that one now. Let's say that we wanted this, like we said. I did say earlier that I'd have chosen a simpler one like this one for my outside shape, but it can be done with this one. Okay, let's say that was going to be the outside shape of my clock. I would need to get rid of those inside lines. Alright, now I'm not going to worry too much about deleting those because I know I've got my master one here that I can always go back to if it didn't work out right. But I could also, if I'm not having a complicated shape inside my clock, I can use that as the outside shape just by getting rid of those engraved lines, so it will work. Okay, and that becomes your final design. Like I said, I'd like you to annotate this, to add notes to it, to explain your design clearly, so that when it's being marked we can see what your thinking is and why you've chosen and done what you've done. Okay, so that could be my little one there, my outside shape for the clock if I wanted. But if it's that complicated, I wouldn't be doing an inside shape as well. It might make it a little bit too much. Okay, so that is the end of tutorial 2 for your final design.